Thank you. Thank you for putting it on. Toastmasters provides a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in a greater self-confidence and personal growth. Leadership Speak is a premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better and self-directed leaders. We are an advanced club focused on leadership development with the 4 core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. Let us be leaders in their right mind, veracious, and give voices to values. I now have the honor in introducing you to our Toastmaster of the day, Brahm.
Thank you.
Bud is a distinguished Toastmaster twice over and working on his first pathways-based DTM. He has been a Toastmaster for over 21 years, and he tells everyone that he started coming to Toastmasters for the evaluations, and that is why he is still in Toastmasters. Please help me welcome Brahm as your Toastmaster of the day. Bud, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you, Hannah. I'll take up the gavel. I have this little toy gavel here. It's tiny, but it'll work. Welcome to the 28th meeting of Leadership Speak Toastmasters. I was asked to be the Toastmaster today, and I looked for something that would inspire me as to what theme we should have. And I noticed that today is International Left-Handed Day. They have a day for everything, I guess. But being a left-handed person, I decided that that would be a good inspiration for my theme for the day. Now, growing up as a left-handed person, I was often hit on my hand. My teacher would come around with a ruler and she'd see me writing with my left hand. She'd smack me on the hand with the ruler. Nowadays, I think they would call that abuse or something. But in those days, they called it trying to help me to learn how to be right-handed. But I wasn't right-handed. I was left-handed. I did learn that being left-handed in our world is a disadvantage. I learned to play golf right-handed because when you go to a golf club, if you walk into the pro shop, they may not have a left-handed set of clubs to rent you. So learning to play right-handed made sense. I learned to play the guitar right-handed because if I'm visiting someone and they say, "Oh, could you play a tune?" Well, I could, but you're tuned wrong. But if I learned to play right-handed, I could play their guitar. I was always a little bit abashed by the fact that I was left-handed. And then I discovered something interesting, and that is that the human body is constructed in such a way that the right-hand side of the brain controls the left-hand side of the body. And that means that only left-handed people are in their right minds. I thought it worked. Then I learned a little bit more. As you look into neurology a little bit, you find out that the left-hand side of the brain controls speaking and the spoken word. And in Toastmasters, that's kind of important. But the right-hand side of the brain controls, let me see now, attention, memory, reasoning, and problem solving, which are all pretty important things if you're going to be an effective leader. And so I decided that the right-hand side of the brain was very important for being a leader, for being in Leadership Speak, for that matter. Leaders are paying attention to those areas that I just mentioned. And that makes the right-hand side of the brain important for leaders. And that means left-handed people must have an advantage. Our theme of the day. I would like to welcome all of our guests who are joining us today, and I hope you will feel free to take part in the meeting. You can inject comments in the chat if you like. You can join in on table topics, and we most enthusiastically welcome you to join in on table topics. And so we're going to move right into the rest of the meeting now. I would like to introduce Suryashi Karen, or is it Karen Suryashi? I'm sorry, the way the names are put in sometimes confuses me, to do a toast for our daily meeting, for our meeting today.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. A leadership mindset involves having certain attitudes, beliefs, and expectations that create the foundation of who you are, how you lead others, and how you interact and influence people around you. This mindset is important because it is the driving component of everything you do. Teaching others, motivating them, helping them in general are what effective leaders do. It is all about treading the path less traveled, making our voices heard. To leaders of the past, present, and future. Cheers.
To leaders of the past, present, and future.
Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much, Yashi. The next order of business, I think, is to introduce our grammarian, who will tell us the role of the grammarian and share with us a word of the day. Can you help me in welcoming Nikita Winkler? Nikita.
Thank you very much. This is the first time I'm taking over this role, and I'm very excited to learn. I chose this word, veracious, because I don't know the word, and it appeared as one of the words of the days in the dictionary. So I figured this would be a great word because it means habitually speaking the truth. Also truthful or honest. And you can use it as veraciously, veracious, veraciousness. And on top of keeping track of everyone's use of the word, I will also be keeping track of your filler words, specifically the ums, and just noting the words and phrases that stand out to me during today's meeting. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be your grammarian. This is an opportunity to practice my listening skills as well. I'm very excited, and do not forget to use the word veracious. Thank you, and back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much, Nikita. And I noticed that the word of the day has been posted in the chat. So if you don't remember the word of the day, be veracious with yourself and check it out in the chat. I must admit, when I first saw the word, I thought she was giving us a misspelling of voracious, which means hungry or famished, actually. So I'm glad to have it clarified. I would also like to at this time, introduce our timer of the day. Our timer is Mariana Burka. And Mariana, could you share with the guests and members the role of the timer and what you will be doing today? You are muted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. And as a timer, I will give signals at appropriate time of the speeches with green color to the yellow and the red. It's depending on the length of the watch out, and my hand will be always up so you can see me at the very first spot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariana. Now, for those of you who have gone into the chat, you may have noticed that there is a link to today's agenda, which is what I have been following as I speak to you. And we have an interesting juxtaposition of speeches here, or speech, when speeches take place, because today we have the great privilege of hearing a speech that is going to be entered into the competition for International Speech Contest down in Nashville. And so we decided we would start off with that speech. And that is Fursey Gotuaco is going to be giving that speech. But before I introduce Fursey, I'd like to introduce his evaluator for today, who is Brahm Memone. Brahm, can you tell us a little bit about Fursey's speech? What you'll be watching for.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Fursey is speaking at the semifinals, and of course, he'll be speaking at the finals. That is my thought and energy putting out there to Fursey, that he will reach right to the top and don't come back next year. That is my wish. And so, and you know why I said don't come back next year? Because once you win, you are not allowed to compete again. And so that's my wish for Fursey here. No pressure, of course. Please just present yourself. I mean, this evaluation is hardly an evaluation, really. You're almost to the finishing line. All yours, Fursey. Back to you, Bud Brahm.
Thank you, Brahm. All right. Let us get right to it. Can you help me in welcoming Fursey Gotuaco? Where's your name? Where's your name? Fursey Gotuaco.
Where's your name? I mean, literally, where did you put your name? And did you put it someplace where you could be proud of it? Contest Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and to everyone who has a name that you value. As a teacher, I begin every year the same way, by writing my name on the board. Hello, students. My name is Fursey Gotuaco. But the very first time I ever wrote it on the board was not quite so auspicious. You see, I was 10 years old, and I was sitting in the back of the car waiting for my mother to come out of the mall. And so I asked my dad, could I go to the restroom? And he says, just go into that restaurant right over there. And so I did. When I was done, I washed my hands, and there, above the sink, where there's normally a mirror, there was a chalkboard. Well, what 10-year-old boy can resist a chalkboard? And so, amongst all the graffiti and all the vile things that people wrote, I wrote, Fursey Gotuaco. And right then was when my father came in. I hurried out to the car and I waited, and I wasn't sure what he was going to say. When he came back, he said one thing to me. Fursey, as you go through life, I want you to think about where you want your name to be seen. That was it? One sentence? As a child, I thought I had gotten away with it. But as an adult, I knew this was only the beginning. You see, my father could have easily said, don't write your name on the bathroom wall. But my father wanted me to understand something more than just what I was writing in a bathroom wall. He wanted me to understand this was not only my name, it was his name and his father's name before him. And so he challenged me with that one thought. Where do I want my name to be seen? And I thought, maybe on the side of a building that they were naming after me for my great contribution. Or maybe naming a star after me because I had discovered it. Or maybe even on the side of a shoe because of all the money I've made. Those kinds of opportunities don't really happen for teachers. And I thought I was going to let my father down. I thought that after all this time, all I had to show for my years of teaching was this and my name on a bathroom wall. Until Ricky. Ricky was put in my class because no one thought he was going to graduate high school. So it was my job to help him graduate. I had him do a speech just like everybody else. And he got up there and he started to say his name in silence. He got angry and he walked out of the room. And I went, Ricky, come back here. No, Mr. G, I don't have to take this class. No one thinks I'm going to graduate anyway. Ricky, just come back here and talk to me. No, Mr. G, I'm not doing your speech. Ricky, it's not about the speech. It's about you. Ricky stopped to talk to me, and we had several conversations. But after a few weeks, our ways parted, and I never saw him again until 10 years later. Ricky found me on Facebook, and he wrote something to me. Mr. G, he can't say Gotuaco, so they just call me Mr. G. Mr. G, when no one else thought that I could graduate, you did. I want you to know that not only did I graduate college, but today I have my master's degree. Mr. G, your name will forever be on this diploma. There it was. My name. All this time I thought my name was going to be on some grand billboard outside of Broadway. And it turns out I'd been writing it right there in the hearts of my students. The ironic thing is, first, I had to help him see his name on a diploma before I could see my name. It's only now that I am the age of my father, when he gave me those words, that I realize it's not just about where the name is, it's the value of the name. It's the value of what I bring to the students in my classroom, because every one of us has a Ricky. Every one of us adds value. Every one of us can use our words to add value to the people in our lives and make them better. Every single one of us has that potential to help someone grow. And so every year, I proudly write my name on the board. My name is Fursey Gotuaco. My question to you is, where's your name? Contest Toastmaster.
Thank you, Fursey. Madam Timer, I'm going to ask for 1 minute on the clock for people to give Fursey any feedback that they think might help him make his speech even better, or to understand places where his speech is really good.
Yes, timer set.
Thank you.
Mr. Toastmaster,
Yes.
may I give some feedback?
Actually, we're going to be having
On the chat.
Fursey's evaluator.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
in the chat. Yes, please.
Minute is
Okay, thank you very much, Marianne. Okay. Now I'm sort of jumping on the, how do I put this? Brahm, are you ready to give Fursey his evaluation?
Yes, indeed. I'm ready.
Can you help in welcoming Brahm Memone?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Fursey Gotuaco. Now I know how to pronounce your name exactly the way it's supposed to be. Fursey Gotuaco. Wonderful. What's in your name? Indeed, what's in your name? Is it to be written in washrooms, or is it to be written somewhere on the stars, on the sides of shoes, or in big buildings, or on the hearts of the people you touch? For Fursey Gotuaco, it was the students. What a wonderful story. It was a great story. Personal stories are always great, especially in contests. And and the actual journey from where you began as a child and where you ended up and the lessons you've learned along the way. So that was a great story in a way that I loved the way it was narrated. Now let's get to what you could improve on. And I know the time is you got only less than a week now. So I'll say whatever I have to say, and then you take what you need to take from it, of course, Fursey, as you know. The letter to Mr. G from your student who is an MBA, and the voice of the student that you had there, it made me think, if I had heard the word MBA, I would have thought this is an elementary student that's talking to you. An MBA's voice would be different in terms of how they would speak in authority. And then the way you were speaking, it was like as if an elementary student had written that story to you, the letter to you, rather than an MBA student who was, done his MBA. So maybe you want to sort of gauge that voice as to what an MBA would write to his teacher and how they would sound. They would perhaps even sound more authoritative than you at that time, because now they've done an MBA, who knows, right? And bigger and greater. We don't know, but leave it to you over there. So sometimes your gestures were constrained a little bit. And I do see that one of the comments in the chat that says you're a bit more in your head than your heart. Perhaps that could be. So it's for you to, of course, get to know what that is. But yes, there was something that wasn't quite that I've normally seen about you today. And so whether it was nervousness or the impending, next week, what's going to happen from Thursday onwards and so on, that may have been in your mind, I don't know. But yeah, it wasn't quite as natural as I've seen you before in terms of your delivery. Content is great, of course. I love the ending. My name is on the hearts of the students, not on sides of shoes or stars or wherever they may be. And every year on the board, you write Fursey Gotuaco. Where's your name? Great ending. I like the ending. It was great. So in between some of those little tweaks, that is my opinion, of course. Fursey, you know better than I do, because I've never contested at that level, of course, but I'm sure I will. This helped you a bit. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Brahm. For those of you who are still thinking of giving some feedback to Fursey, I think Brahm just gave a great illustration of the fact that evaluators and Toastmasters, we're not professional evaluators. We're giving you feedback on how your speech made us feel, how it impacted us, and why we believe it impacted us in that way. So that's the helpful thing. Fursey's going to be speaking to an audience, and she's going to impact. So keep that in mind when you're giving feedback. Okay. Next, we are going into our more normal order for our speaking. We normally start off our speaking portion of the meeting by hearing insights into the concept of leadership. And so we started off with what we call the Leadership Speak Talk. And today, our Leadership Speak Talk is going to be done by Peggy Onlock. And Peggy's evaluator is on here somewhere, and I've misplaced it. Oh yes, Aramo. Aramo is going to evaluate Peggy's speech. Aramo, can you tell us a little bit about what Peggy's asked you to look for when you're evaluating her speech? Aramo here. See. Okay.
Paulette is not here, so please just introduce the speaker, and I think I will evaluate Peggy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for stepping in for that, Mariana. All right, in that case, can you help me in welcoming Peggy Onlock? A mentor can change your life. A mentor can change your life. Peggy Onlock.
Would I be able to share screen, please?
Yes, you are.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Go ahead, it is on. Francoise, are you the host? Could you please put it on?
Try again.
It is on.
It's on now. Okay, thank you. Fellow Toastmasters, Leadership Speak members, and most welcome guests. Mentoring is a collaborative effort. It's not a one-sided relationship. It's a relationship that two people get into to benefit both of them. And a mentor can change your life. Some of the things I'd like to talk about is how mentoring has affected me. And I think my mentoring came from a very young age. So I'm hoping to display that to you today. My first mentor, probably like a lot of us in this room, was none other than my mother. My mother was a very strong woman who worked as far back as I remember. I think she probably took maternity leaves off like a lot of women, and other than that, she worked. So I ended up working in the same profession that Mom did. So Mom was my first mentor. And my sister, who was the younger one, the cute little one in the middle there, is me. My sister is also a mentor now. We've both gotten much older than in this picture, but we have a huge influence on each other's lives. Another mentor who, kind of an unannounced mentor, we didn't know how big of an impact we would have on each other. But that guy right there on the left-hand side of my screen is my Uncle Bill. He was a war veteran in World War II, and I was always the daughter that he never had. So we had a very close relationship. And because of my interest in history, we talked a lot about the old days and when he was in the war. So this particular photo that I have here is the man that you see in this photo with him is from the Netherlands, and he came over years and years later because he had always been looking for my uncle. When my uncle was in the Netherlands during World War II, he had apparently gone into a barn in the Netherlands, and they found quite a few people who were hiding and helped save them. So that's why that connection. And Uncle Bill always told me a lot of stories. And the title, the headline on this paper was very important for me because the last thing he wanted to be known as was a hero. He was a young lad when he went over during World War II. I think he saw a lot of things that nobody ever prepared me for. And when I got older as well and came down with post-traumatic stress symptoms, Uncle Bill was one of the people who didn't know a lot about it and didn't realize the impact he was having on me. But from the chats and the guidance they had provided through my life, it really gave me a clearer understanding of what I was going through. And in many ways, I think that is one of the things, no matter how painful it was, it saved my life. So now I'm going to be a little less dramatic and get into the benefits of mentoring, because Toastmasters has always been very big on mentoring, but they haven't always taken a lot of steps to make sure that people can be good and effective mentors. So some of the benefits of mentoring are we have a much wider network when we are in a mentor-protege relationship, because we have our own network, and we also learn from the people that our mentor brings into the story. We learn from experience, both our own experience and the experience of others. One of the things that I've worked on for the last several decades is trying to tell my story and hoping people can learn from that experience rather than having to go through some of that pain themselves. So that learning from experience is something that can really be beneficial to both, in both helping and avoiding pain. So learning from experience is something that I've always thought was very important. A mentor is also somebody who listens to us, and a person who really listens in an effort not to tell us what to do, but to guide us in a direction that we want to go and a direction that is true to ourselves. Well, I see a mentor as a tour guide. It's somebody who stands beside us during our journey, but they allow us to choose the path we're taking and the journey that we go on so we can fulfill our goals and hopefully help our mentor fulfill some of those goals as we go along the way as well. And mentoring is, again, mutual beneficial relationship for both the mentor and the protege. Now, quite often it's just as important to know what something is not, as well as what it is. So what mentoring is not, it's not coaching. They're two very different things. Now, in some mentor-protege relationships, there may be some coaching involved, but it's a very different thing, where the protege may ask you how to do something. And in that case, you're stepping back as a mentor a bit, and you're providing the direction that your protege has requested. Now, one example of this may be in a sports team. A sports team always has a coach, and that coach is there to provide the skills, the direction, and hopefully the leadership and mentorship as well for that sports team. But the coaching part of it comes into play when the coach tells the team what plays to make, what positions to take, and the very specific things they have to do to reach a goal, which I like hockey, so it's obviously to win a hockey game in that situation. But that is a coach. A mentor is somebody who's going to have more of an impact on your overall life and guide you along the way to become a better person than you would if they weren't there. Now, another thing a mentor is not, it's not somebody who comes on board to do your work for you. So a protege is somebody on equal playing field as you are, and it's also somebody who is going to learn from that relationship and teach you things along the way as well, because nobody knows everything. And the mutual relationship between a mentor and a protege can be and it should be very beneficial to both. And I have already mentioned that mentor-protege relationship is definitely not one-sided. So Toastmasters has made a lot of progress in what mentoring should be. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but if you want to go into Pathways, you can actually look up their Pathways Mentor Program. And I would encourage everybody to take that Pathways Mentor Program. It's something that every pathway starts developing on level 2. And many of you here would have done your introduction to mentoring project already, where you are going to describe a relationship that you had as a protege and how your mentor impacted you. So it's really to help build and reinforce the skills that you need to be a good mentor. And like every other pathway project, it does have specific projects, and I'll go into them a little bit later. But I would encourage everybody to go into Pathways after they finish their second level and consider taking this mentor program because it is very good. I wish I had done it a long time ago, but I'm doing it now. So late's better than never. Now, what that program is, first, you're going to go in and prepare to mentor. You are going to confirm what your goals are for getting into a mentor-protege relationship. And you're also going to find out why you're interested in mentoring somebody. And most importantly, to me anyways, is are you ready to be a mentor? That is a very important one for both you and the person you're going to be mentoring. The next step is you'll do a self-assessment, and that will let you know a little bit more whether you think you're ready to be a mentor. Now, one of the first projects is to work with a protege on a short-term project, and that can be something to benefit the club. When you get into the advanced mentoring, you're going to work with a protege for a minimum of 6 months, and that can be either with another Toastmaster or it can also be outside of Toastmasters. And then again, like Pathways, you're going to have a project completion to do, and you will then be an accredited Pathways mentor. When I went to school, one of the things that really impacted me was some of the mentors that I had as teachers. And I remembered working at the bank, somebody told me if I was having a really rough time, as long as 51% of it was okay, then you're on the right path. I always thought a little bit better than 51 would have been good. Now, I quit school after grade 10 as well because I absolutely hated high school. So Fursey's speech there was really impactful for me because I had some teachers who were absolutely wonderful mentors. And when I look back at them now, I'm 65 years old. I still remember those exact things those teachers did when I was in high school that helped make me the person that I am today. And one of them was to help me think for myself and not just to take direction from everybody else. Now, some of the other teachers I had, they weren't very good mentors. And that really is the reason why I quit high school, because I didn't like the direction they were taking me. Some of them were very dismissive. Some of them were just downright abusive. I too remember getting smacked across the hand for not slanting my writing in the right direction. But I ended up, because of those good teachers, those good mentors I had, I went back and got my grade 13 equivalency and graduated with my university degree because I absolutely loved learning. So I would encourage everybody to continue learning, and through mentorship is one of the ways that you can do that very effectively. Last but not least, Steven Spielberg has one of my favorite quotes: "The delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but giving them the opportunity to create themselves." Back to you, Toastmaster Bud.
Thank you, Peggy. Very inspirational. And one of the reasons why I love Toastmasters is we have the opportunity to mentor. And this is something you've shared with us today, and the veracity of your comments really is very timely. I think that Pathways program has brought the mentoring to the next level beyond what it was in the older times. I'm just scanning over the list here of people present, and maybe I'm missing it, but I'm not spotting Mrinal Kantigosh, who is
Is here,
evaluator. He's here?
but
Yes.
Oh,
can we give 1 minute for?
yes.
No.
Thank you.
I set the clock for a
Yes,
minute.
1 minute for people to enter in the chat and give feedback to Peggy about her speech on mentoring.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Yes, minute is up.
Thank you, Madam Timer. All right, our next speaker is going to be Francoise Bowen, and her evaluator, Mrinal Kantigosh, is I'm going
Thank
to
you.
invite him to give us some insight as to what Francois' objectives are.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Ken.
Good day, distinguished Toastmasters, fellow Toastmaster, and dear guests. I have the pleasure of introducing Francoise Brahm. She is a Veracious person. TM Francoise will be delivering a 5 to 7 minutes presentation in the format interview. TM Francoise is an entrepreneur in the film industry and also humanitarian with key focus on HIV and AIDS, and also the process of having a charity organization. Today, hands-on project, she will be practicing how to be interviewed because many times she goes off the hook and needs help to remain conscious and the point at his hand. So she will be presenting from Pathway Strategic Relationship, Level 3, Increased Knowledge, Prepare for an Interview. The purpose of her project is for member to practice the skill needed to present himself or herself well in an interview. Back to you, TMOD.
Thank you very much, Marin. Can you help me in welcoming Francoise Bowen in her interview? Make this make sense. Make this make sense, Francoise Bowen.
I'm gonna ask for the timer. Can you spotlight my interviewer, which will be Dinesh Sharma. Dinesh Sharma will be interviewing me, so he can be pinned next to me.
Oh.
All right, good. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you, Francois, for giving me the opportunity to interview you. And I think you did it pretty right, because you may not know, I'm an HR guy by profession, and I love doing interviews of the people, okay? So make you comfortable. We're going to have a conversation, so don't think it's an interview, right? First of all, can you tell me something about yourself, Francois?
Certainly. I am 38 years of age. I live on the Caribbean island of Antigua and Barbuda. I have a cat. His name is Blackie. Currently, I'm employed as an office administrative assistant. I was home for 2 years and months since when the COVID hit. So I'm so happy to finally be working. And I love networking and meeting people. One of my favorite things that I love to do is meeting minds that are optimistic and desire to see the world better. And yes, and I love the arts as well too, particularly in the film industry.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Moving on, Francois, you own an acting film business under your name, Francois Acting Studio Antigua. What led you to the film industry, and also why you created an acting studio?
Certainly, thank you for that question. As a little girl growing up in the church, we were always pushed to do pantomime, remember verses at every celebration that you can think about on the calendar: Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, Boxing Day, everything you can think about. And I recognized that loving the stage in creating things and making them come to life pushed me forward into learning more about theater and particularly acting on the whole. And while I was working at Cable and Wireless LAM, that was a telecom communication company, I was very strategic. Every vacation, I traveled to acting classes. And at the acting classes, I developed to build my skills better. And in that, I decided, you know what? My country, Antigua and Barbuda, actually do not have, say, like a film studio that can focus on building filmmakers. And that's when in 2014, I went to intellectual property, went and registered the name under my name. And that's the push.
Beautiful. That's what the leadership is, going out of the comfort zone and creating something for yourself. Moving on, tell us more about the acting, because I always thought acting is about just memorizing the lines and saying in front of the crowd or so. So help me, explain me what acting means is.
Well, acting actually helps. Acting is really you creating somewhat of an image, or you're creating your stories to help tell a story to someone. You're reenacting, say, like we have Shakespeare. Shakespeare was one of the greatest we can think about when it comes to theater. And when you think about wanting to share a story of something that is happening in your community, some do it through music, some do it through writing poetry. But when you're acting, the visual of it is so real. And persons think that they just get a book or paper and just read something and then that's it. No, you put life into it. You put in your emotions into it. And you want that person who is watching you or listening to you to get healed, to get free, to get to laugh. Some persons are coming from homes that they just need to be able to express themselves through the creativity, through the creative arts. So acting is not just memorizing a line and that's it. No, it's so much you're putting your all into it. And you're also healing yourself. And as I said, you're also healing others along the way who is watching you and listening to you.
Beautifully said, Francois. You live the role that you are doing it. Moving on, it says, why should adults and parents encourage their little ones to go into this creative world?
Oh, it is so important. Children, creativity is wide. And you don't want to limit them that they must be doing doing things that is just in a box. When you're creative, you're exploring. Parents and guardians, when they encourage your children to be all they can be, it helps them in their choices later on in their life. Allow the children to explore themselves. Allow the children through acting to understand what it means to have camaraderie among others, because being creative, you will actually help developing a child for the society of tomorrow.
Perfect. I know we have a lot of other questions, but in the sense of the time, I'm going to ask you one last question, or then I have something else. I dread going in front of the camera. What advice you would have for me?
Relax. You don't have to be in front of the camera to be an actor or filmmaker. You can work behind the scenes, stuntman. We have all of that. When you're in the acting and film industry, you can also use it as a therapeutic. You might not be the type of person that want to be seen, even though you might be on stage, but you just want to be able to hone yourself, relax yourself, get yourself back in order. And being in the film, doing theater as well too, will help you to get yourself back in order and for the day.
Beautiful. Now I know acting is, there's a lot of people behind it too. Last one, because we are running out of the time. What's your end goal for your filmmakers in your country?
Yes, my end goal definitely is for all filmmakers, whether they're in the theater, whether they play a part of writing, the script writers. My end goal really is that persons be professionals in this field and that they can go out, go into the international community and be able to be hired by the top notch of Hollywood, Bollywood, Hollywood, be able to just create themselves and work in this multi-billion-dollar industry. One of my colleagues who went to school with me, he's one of the sought after visual effects animator in the world, and he's doing and making changes. So if he can go that far, I say that everyone can go that far as well. Take it up to the next level up.
Perfect. That's beautifully said. Thank you for the opportunity you gave it for me to interview you. And I love the closing remark which you said it. If they can do it, why can't I? Okay, because we all have to. So thank you. Back to you, Madam. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you both, Francoise, for your marvelous answers in the interview, and Dinesh for your very skilled interviewing technique. Can we have 1 minute, Madam Timer, for people to enter feedback to Francoise in the chat?
Yes, timer set.
If I may use a second of this time, just to remind everyone to use the word veracious, veraciously, veraciousness. It's only been used once.
I did use veracity.
Minute is up.
Please wrap up your comments. We now move on to our next speaker. Brahm is going to be speaking as our second speaker, but his evaluator is Vinod. Vinod, can you give us some insight as to what Brahm's objectives are?
Yeah, thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. DTM Brahm is going to give his speech from level 3 team collaboration path. It's an elective project, and the project is connect with storytelling. The purpose statement of the project is for the member to practice using a story within a speech or giving a speech that is a story. Timer, the time is 5 to 7 minutes. Best wishes.
Excuse me, the time is 15 minutes. So green light will be on at 10, yellow will be at 12 minutes, and red is at 15.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vinod. Can you help me in welcoming Brahm, Memone, Louis, Brahm, Memone.
I opened the door and there he was sitting right there in the same place that he was sitting in the morning. I'd gone for a coffee in the morning and he was sitting at 5 p.m. in exactly the same spot. Kids were running around, 4 or 5 year olds, smiling and laughing and running around, and balloons were flying in the air, and there were decorations all over the place. It was a birthday party. The cake was brought out, everybody was singing. You could see the glee on Louis' face. He was so happy. As the kids would run around and the balloons were flying around, he would, hit the balloons and laugh with the kids and so on, but sitting in the same place as he had that morning. Now you'd wonder, why was Louis sitting in the same place for so many hours? And where was this? McDonald's. Louis spent all his time in McDonald's from morning till evening. All the staff knew him well, and they knew what he wanted. And as soon as he went to the counter, his order would be ready because he spent all his time in McDonald's. Now, why would somebody spend all their time in McDonald's? Well, let me tell you a little bit about Louis. Louis, 85 years old. That is right, 85 years old. He walked, stooped, 85 years old. Perhaps that's how his body was at the time. And he would walk this way, And when he lowered himself on a chair, he would hold the table, his hand would be shaking as he lowered himself slowly onto a chair as he sat down. That was Louis. Now, why would somebody who's 85 years old spend all his time in McDonald's? Here's the thing. If somebody is spending that much time in McDonald's, they probably don't have any relatives or relationships or friends or any other person that they can connect with outside, so they spend their time in McDonald's. This is what I found out about Louis, because I'm one of those people who, when I see a senior person, I reach out to them. Hello, how are you? Why are you here? And I start to talk to them and I get to know them. And so I got to know Louis. Now, it became very apparent very quickly to me as to why Louis was spending all his time in McDonald's. 85 years old, no relationships, no friends, nothing. Why would that be? Well, here's the thing. Louis was angry at all things that you could even mention or get out of your mouth. He would be angry at anything you'd say. He would have these outbursts all of a sudden from nowhere. I live in Mississauga, so the city of Mississauga is a great place. I love it. I've been here for 30 years and more. Louis hates Mississauga. That's right. He hates Mississauga. He's been perhaps living in Mississauga for about 30 years or more. He hates Mississauga. He hates the mayor of Mississauga. He hates Canada. He hates the federal government. He hates everything that you could mention. Now, just near the McDonald's, a brand new community center had opened just a couple of years back. Brand new, wonderful facility. People loved going there. It was bright, big windows. I loved going there. I spent a lot of time in the library. Louis hated the place. Nothing would please Louis. Now you're getting the picture. You're getting the picture that if anybody spoke to Louis, Louis would be lashing out at anything that anybody ever said. And so nobody would sit with him, nobody would become friends with him. He had been divorced a number of years, many, many years actually. One day he even confided in me. He said, I gave my son $10,000 last year. He never called back. He doesn't talk to me. And I wondered to myself, why would anyone talk to you when you are always angry, always lashing out? Now, of course, perhaps now I'm just a coach. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but perhaps it was a mental illness of some sort. But I still made my best effort to become friends with Louis. Now, here's a few things that I learned about Louis. He was Serbian, from Serbia, went to Germany in his younger age, in his late teens, early 20s, worked in Germany in a bar, become a bartender, got married. Then, of course, came to Canada. And then when he came to Canada, he lived in, for those of you who are Canadians, Kingston. Kingston is perhaps 3-4 hour drive from Mississauga, where I am. And it is a very 30, 35, 40 years, God knows how, when he arrived there in Kingston, maybe it was 50 years ago, it was a very small town. And then, of course, it got divorced. He met somebody else. And so that's why he moved to Mississauga, because he had met his love of his life, he thought at the time. He did confide in me that they had ups and downs all the time, but he loved her and he wanted to be with her and he wanted to marry her, until one day cancer took her away. And he was alone again. And that's how he spent his life, in McDonald's, with no friends, nothing, and with, I suppose, a mental illness of some sort that made him lash out at anything and everything that you could ever think of, or it was difficult to have a conversation with him. Now, this story doesn't have a good ending. Like, you think that at the end of the story, I'll tell you the lessons learned and how Louis lived his life well afterwards, because I talked to him every day. This story doesn't have a good ending. That's the warning. It's not your Hollywood, feel good at the end where the hero wins and so on, unfortunately. But here are things that I learned from Louis. Now, Louis one day confided in me that he used to live in Kingston many years back, and that when he was around 50 years old, that is about 35 years back in Kingston, in a small town, he used to coach kids between 12 and 17, soccer, and he was a soccer coach. And he said he loved playing soccer, and his favorite students were actually girls, because he told me the girls listened to him more than the boys would listen to him in how to play soccer. And so those were his actually favorite students, but he of course coached everyone. Now, because of my conversations with him, I found out that he was wanting to go back to Kingston to live his life back to where it was, where he had left off 35 years ago, and go back to coaching those kids. Now, of course, those kids have grown up 30, 35 years later. They'll be like in their 40s and early 50s, perhaps. And he said to me, maybe I should go back and I'll go to the playground, and you know what? Those kids, they may have grown up, but they have kids now, and they would be perhaps, the age group that I want to coach, and I should go back and coach them. Now, around the community center where we lived, I used to see him, watch kids playing soccer and all that, and he would be like full of smiles and happy and so on. And I said, wow, great idea, if you wanted to do that, but make sure that you know exactly what you're doing if you're going to go to Kingston, because that was 35 years ago. Anyways, I didn't see Louis for perhaps 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Our timings were a bit different, and I wasn't going to the coffee store as regularly, perhaps. And after about 4 or 5 weeks, actually, I walked into the coffee store, McDonald's, of course, for coffee, because McDonald's, at least where I am, served great coffee. And I used to have black coffee. And there was Louis sitting there, back in the same corner. And I went and sat next to him, bought myself a coffee, offered him a coffee. And he seemed totally discombobulated, totally out of his senses somehow. And didn't make any sense when he was talking to me. And it seemed that he was in a state of mind that was not settled, and he was very agitated and very stressed out. I didn't know what was the matter with him. I just talked to him as best as I could, trying to avoid his shouting as best I could, and be with him for a little while. And then I suggested to him, hey, Louis, do you have a doctor? Do you have a family doctor? Why don't I take you to the family doctor? Do you know where your family doctor is? And Louis tried to remember and said, I don't know what my family doctor is. I can't remember. I can't remember a thing. He was so stressed out and agitated and sort of totally out of his mind. So I said to him, Louis, listen, let me take you to my doctor. And, let's see what she says. And the doctor's right across the parking lot from McDonald's. This is a big mall, strip mall. And so I took him to the doctor. And as we stood outside the doctor's office, Louis said, oh my goodness, Dr. Amin, yes, that is my doctor. What a coincidence. What a relief. So we went into the doctor. And I told the receptionist that I will be going with him into the doctor's office where she examines the patients. And so the doctor, first thing she walks in is she looks at me and says, who are you? Are you his neighbor? Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you know the Bible, and I'm not a Christian, but I've read this story about the Good Samaritan, and you all know the story of the Good Samaritan, right? Some of you would know. And it was about when a disciple of Jesus asked Jesus, what is the neighbor? And Jesus said, the Good Samaritan. And the story goes that, a man was injured by robbers and was thrown on the side of the street between two towns. He was a merchant. And a priest passed by, another priest passed by. They were very busy and they didn't help the guy. And then this merchant, what he did was put wine and ointment on his wounds and bandaged him and took him to the town. And took him to an innkeeper and said, here, look after this man. And if you need any more money, I will give it to you, but here's some money for now. And when I come back from the other town, I will give you the rest of the money. Now, this merchant who would help this other guy, they didn't know each other at all. And Jesus turned to his disciples and said, that is a good neighbor. I had not known Louis. I didn't know where he lived. He lived somewhere in the neighborhood. And it struck to me, perhaps we all need to be good neighbors to each other, no matter who the person is, whether they seem to be angry all the time, whether you can hardly have a conversation with them. Perhaps you should reach out, especially if they're more senior people, and see what they need. Now, here's the other thing is, a few days later, I did find out why Louis was so discombobulated. Let me tell you why. Unbeknownst to me, he had gone to Kingston all by himself at the age of 85. Somehow he'd found his way to the train station, took the train and gone to Kingston. And where those grounds were, where they used to play soccer, he went there. And guess what? 35 years later, what would you expect? Do you expect a field of soccer still standing there? No, there were tall buildings, right? And the poor guy stood there looking at the buildings. And then realizations happened to him that you cannot turn back time and go backwards. You cannot rewind time and go back, ever. And so you cannot relive your life. The lessons that I've learned from it, Louis, of course, I don't know what happened to him because pandemic hit and we had to go back to our lockdowns and so on. McDonald's closed. I haven't seen him since then. So that's why I said there's no good ending. But here's the thing that I have learned from this is be a good neighbor to anybody that you meet. Doesn't matter who they are, And make sure that your own experiences in your own life are ones that you don't have to sort of rewind and try and say, those were the good old days. Every day is a good old day. Every day is a good new day. That you live your life with experiences with your loved ones, with your family, with your friends, so that those experiences carry you forward, so there are no regrets in the future. Those are the things that I've learned so much from Louis, that I make sure that with my kids, and they're pretty much grown up and they live on their own, and my grandkids, I talk to my grandkids almost every day. I text them. One of them is right now traveling through France, and I constantly ask her, oh, what are the pictures, and send me some pictures of wherever you are. And the other grandkid went for to a cottage with her childhood friend, and they've been away for a week. And I've been I keep asking her, how are you? What's going on? So those are things that I've learned for myself. But as for Louis, like I said, there's no good ending, because I don't know what happened to him after that. So ladies and gentlemen, here's the thing. Be a good neighbor, connect with people, connect. Doesn't matter whether it's in Toastmasters or outside of Toastmasters, learn to connect with people. Create those great experiences with your friends, and especially with your family. Don't forget your family ever. And so as we grow and older and become more wiser, rather than become an angry person, or somebody who doesn't like people or is always lashing out. And if you think that you have mental health or any sort of health issues mentally, go and see your doctor earlier on and exercise your mind. Those are the lessons I've learned as I grow older, and I make sure that my relationships all click well, and that I have great experiences as I go along in my life. Yes, I don't know what the situation with Louis is, but we can all learn to live good lives. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Brahm. I'm sure we've all learned something of the graciousness of Brahm's message. Everyone that we have to be with. Can you give us 1 minute rapid timer?
Yes, time is set for 1 minute. One minute is up.
Thank you very much. And appropriately, that our timer is on the screen right now, because I'm going to ask Mary to give us the times for the speeches, and then the opinions of whether how long a break we have time to do.
All right, the speakers. Fursey spoke 7 minutes, 26 seconds. Peggy, 12 minutes, 27 seconds. Francoise, 8 minutes, 34 seconds. And Brahm's speech was 16 minutes and 17 seconds.
I noticed all of those speeches were on, and Fursey's came to within 4 seconds of him being disqualified in this contest. Do we have time for much of a break?
5 minutes break.
I think we have 5 minutes, because it's going to be okay. In that case, I'm going to call a break. 5 minutes.
Yes.
such auspicious stories. Sorry, veracious. Such veracious. I had another word in my head, but such veracious stories we've heard here today. I'm just here to remind you to use the word of the day. Thank you.
Would like to welcome our guests. Some of you are here for the first time. Welcome. Hope you're enjoying. And if you have noticed in the chat, there is a link for us to get some of the information from you. So we do encourage you to fill out that survey.
Hey, Aswati, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Very good. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful speech. I came late, but I'm happy that I didn't miss your speech.
Well, thank you. This was, Vinod always challenges me. Don't use technology and tell us the story. So I thought, okay, I'll tell you a long story, not just a short one.
It was really wonderful.
And oh yeah, we have Nayali. Just hang a second. Where's Nayali? Was here a second ago. No, she's left. Okay.
I got to say, Brahm, Vinod definitely challenged you because you always use technology, and so he asked you to come out of your comfort zone and share something without using the technology. It was great to see you not using the technology at all. And yeah, your story was very, very heart touching.
Time is
I
up.
shouldn't be doing that.
Please,
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, continue with the meeting.
So 5 minutes up already. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Welcome back from your break, and I am convinced that you are on the up and refreshed, and that you will listen to the next session of our meeting, evaluations and table topics. But the virtual stage is yours again. Over to you.
Thank you, Hannah. Muted here. Okay. Yes, today our table topics master is Fabiola, and Fabiola is a longtime Toastmaster. She comes from the small island in the Caribbean, Curacao, and I was on Curacao or in Curacao in January of this year, challenging the COVID people. But it was a lovely little port, and I'm sure she's got some great memories from there. Being passionate about leadership, Fabiola has seen tremendous growth in her journey as a Toastmaster. She tells us that she will conduct our table topic segment today, concentrating on having the right mindset as a leader. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Fabiola.
All right, thank you for that introduction. And I wish I knew that you would have visited Curacao. I would have welcomed you personally. To be a great leader, you need the right mindset. Well, today we are going to explore this topic in a most veracious way. When you're participating, do use the word of the day, and you have 1 to 2 minutes as usual. And I have been connecting with some of you in the chat. Those of you that do not have an active role today, be prepared to unmute and participate. Participating in table topics do get you the opportunity to practice on giving your opinion in a structured way, and also you get to be more and more proficient in this. Going for my first topic. Mindset are leaders' mental lenses that dictate what information they take in and use to make sense of and navigate the situation they encounter. What is your take on this? Mindset are leaders' mental lenses that dictate what information they take in and use to make sense of and navigate the situation they encounter. What is your take on this? Toastmaster Peter?
I assume this is this Peter, not the Peter without the hat.
Yes. Go ahead.
My mindset regarding the lance that gathers information is just perhaps a portion of what leaders are. I think one of the great things that we have to learn today as leaders is to accumulate information, accumulate data. And it's no longer just the library, just the newspaper, just the television. We need to really dig down deep into the electronic means that is available. So the great skill of a leader is to find information wherever you can, and talking to people, and just explore your whole horizon to get more and more information. The second step of being a leader and using that lance that you have identified is to call that information into meaningful information, separate the wheat from the chaff, so that you know the information you really need. And finally, be able to convey that information. You have two ways of conveying it: in writing, in written form, and then what we're here all about is in the verbal form, to convey information in a persuasive, in an informative, in an instructive manner, verbally. Back to you, Miss Table Topics Master.
Thank you for sharing those nuggets with us. Very well. In an article I read, it identifies 4 distinct sets of mindset. I will piggyback on this for my next couple of questions. One of the distinct sets of mindset is growth and fixed mindset. Growth and fixed mindset. Which one do you incline towards? Which one do you incline towards? And this goes for Khalid.
Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. Your topics seem to be long, so let me make sure I got it. I am comparing fixed mindset with a variable mindset.
And The mindset of growth, a leader with a mindset of growth.
Thank you very much, Madam Tabletop. Nice. Having been a professor all my life, I meet new bunch of people every 4 months in a year. And different people need to be treated differently. I cannot treat the same different group with the same mindset. Of course, there are basics, some principles I abide by that applies to all, but the way I deal with every group must be different. People come from different backgrounds, different level of intellect, different level of talent. So for me, in order to succeed in my duty as a professor of mathematics, I have to deal with each group differently, which means I do not agree that you can live life with a fixed mindset. Whether you're a teacher, you're an engineer, or even you're a parent. Imagine you have 5 or 6 kids, which is normal in my part of the world. I know in different parts of the world, they restrict themselves to 1 or 2. If you have, in my family, for example, there are 6 of us. Can you imagine how to deal with them? If you have to raise your children, all of them, with the same mindset, I guarantee you it will not work. You have to deal with each one on an individual basis, in general, in individual cases. So my position on this is that in order to be successful, you should have a flexible mentality and not a fixed mentality. Madam Tabletop.
Excellent. Giving us some examples and under building on the part of a leader, look at the growth and treat each one with a different approach. And that is how you go about doing this. In the same article, as I mentioned, that identifies these 4 different sets, I'm going to look at the next 2. The next 2 is having a deliberate or an implemental mindset. The question is, if you would choose, which way would you go about taking decisions? Deliberate and implemental. If you would choose, which way would you go in taking decisions? And this, I would like to call on Ram for this question.
Madam Table Topic Master, would you repeat that part of the question again?
Having a deliberate or an implemental mindset as a leader, which way would you choose when going about taking decisions?
Madam Table Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, that is a very intriguing question, a question in which it requires a lot of thought. A thought of perhaps a flexibility in us to a certain amount of surety as to what to do. We look at not only our mind to assess what's going on, our eyes has to see, perhaps our ears to listen to what is being said here, or what to say before you ramble it out. You have to put together a series of those thoughts before you say, this is the manner in which I would say it. So that is a challenge that one would experience. That is the way I would deal with the matter. The matter would be different every time that you look at somebody else, certainly you will not going to be looking at the same lens with everybody else. You will measure it differently. Back to you, Madam Tabletop Master.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, very profound, but thank you for taking these questions in a very voracious way. Let me see, I got a message. So we are running out of time. Do I have one more, or is this the last one?
No, we have to wrap it up. Thank you very much, Fabiola.
Okay. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the meeting.
Thank you, Fabiola. Some very thought-provoking questions, and frankly, some very thought-provoking answers. You were voracious in describing them that way. I'm going to move on now to the part of the meeting that I personally love the best. I mentioned earlier that I came to Toastmasters for the evaluations, and that's why I stayed. And so as a result, I love this part of the meeting best, and I'm going to handle this part of the meeting. I'm going to turn the meeting over to our general evaluator for today, Linda Adhu. Linda, can you take it away? Here's the gavel.
Thank you, Bud. We've come to the last session of the meeting where we provide feedback. I think it's the most important part of the meeting because it helps us and the speakers know how we've been doing in the meeting. I will begin by calling the speech evaluators, and then after that, I will call the timer and then the grammarian. Our first evaluator will be evaluating Peggy's speech, which was on mentoring. Please welcome Dinesh. He'll be evaluating Peggy, and the timing is 2 to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator and Peggy. You touched a very key point, mentoring or benefits of mentoring. This is a favorite topic for me because I have always believed that for your personal and professional growth, you always need to have a group of mentors, if not one. Okay. I'm going to evaluate your speech the way what you did good, what you could do better, and how the closing was. So what you did better in the mentoring, you shared a personal story, Peggy, where you said your mom is your first mentor, your uncle helped you. So, and as Brahm was saying, personal stories are very touching. So you touched very, very good points on how your mom helped, how your uncle helped. Okay. Then you moved on and you touched upon the mentoring program of the Toastmasters. Okay. How mentoring in Toastmasters can help the individuals. But then you shared something else which is very exciting. And one of the things that I have always believed is the vulnerability part of it. As leaders, yes, we are vulnerable also. You said, hey, you did not use the mentoring program of Toastmasters earlier. You're now 65 years old, but you started using it now. Better late than never. You showed an inspiration to all of us that life is a lifelong journey process part of it. It's not that I'm 65-year-old, I don't need a mentor and all that kind of stuff. So you really became an inspiration for all of us by sharing that part. Okay. There were many, many key good points that you shared, okay, in your speech. What you could do better is, and this is, I'm going to share it, I have the same challenge also, but you had it. We couldn't see you. We were only seeing your slides there. And topics like leadership speak, it's always people want to see listening or watching the individual, those who are presenting it, because it gives a big more impact. They don't want to be, they want to listen to it too, but they don't want to be watching the screen part of it only. So, and I say this, I have the same challenge. I'm learning onto it too. So if somehow you could pick up that extra skill of where you could be speaking while your slides are being shown, that would make a much bigger impact of your speech. And in the last, you close your speech with the beautiful quote, and I'm going to repeat the quote yourself because it touched me. Okay, this says the delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but giving them the opportunity to create themselves. Two things that I mean, this is such a beautiful quote. You, as a mentor, you don't want people to be a photocopy of you. You want them to recreate yourself by the guidance.
Am I the only one that can't hear Dinesh?
Dinesh, we can't hear you.
Dinesh, we cannot hear you.
Madam G, back to you.
At this point, we will go to our next evaluator. The next evaluator will be evaluating our second speaker, Francoise, which was giving an interview. Please welcome Mirano Kanti Ghosh.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster GE. Cinema should make you forget you are sitting in a theater. Exactly. Francois, make it happen. Francois, what an amazing speech. For a moment, I thought I am attending the press conference with a great filmmaker. That was a great structural question answer between interviewer and interview. These questions all are very relevant. We must say these all questions are very relevant. And even I was showing interest right now to join in the film industry. But why? Because such a beautifully structured question answer sessions are answered by Francois. And also our interviewer, Dinesh. I love some of the points during interview. This is very interesting. So that's the goal of as impromptu speaking. Acting is just, interviewer asks about acting is just a memorizing a line. And what a beautiful explain given by Francois. He realized William Shakespeare, we all know, the 7 stages of our life and how he implemented theater life to our individual impact in our life. Such a beautiful. And then he was talking about our visualizations of real. So as a commentation part, I like about the impromptu speaking, the way impromptu, and also the another part also I like the most, how to encourage to the children to come into the film industry. And what a beautiful answer given by Francois. I totally mesmerized. Is a Veracious moment for me. Why I'm telling that? Because you're absolutely right. The children are the most creative minds, that's we all know. But how they are having the wide creative mind. And that's why every guardians or parents should encourage their children to be in the film industry. And about the last questions. So I'm talking about the intersection. I love your the conversation level and also your comfort level. And whatever clarity message you are already giving. The last question, because some of the fear of the in front of the film industry means in front of camera, but you just told that relax is also off. You also work behind the camera. So such an interesting storyline you are telling. And third, what's your goal? So goal, your industry should bring to the world-class levels. Such a motivational interview, I must say. So as a point, the commentation part, which I like the most, your impromptu speaking, your comfort level, and also your clarity of your message throughout your conversation. And I know everyone should be the better version of yourself. As a better version of yourself, I think you should work on 2 parameters. First point is gesture, because you all know any communication, gesture will communicate 70% of weightage and 20% vocal variety and rest 10% in content. So that is, as a film industry, as a filmmaker, I think that is the most crucial component to gesture and body language, because you speak a lot of language. So that part, I think, suppose suppose you are excited, your hand moving, gesture, posture, that's what you have. That everybody should. I know that it's a virtual platform, but you can do that. And next, your vocal variety. Suppose sometime that could you improve, like I'm talking about. Interviewer asked about I'm too much fear about the in front of camera, and you tell about relax. You may say just chill, relax. Means it's not about the only for in front of camera. It's also the behind the camera also. So that part you also take care of. So overall, is amazing, and I hope you are already qualified for this project. Holly, just summarize once again your commendation part, which you are excellent, impromptu speaking, comfort level, clarity. Your improvement area, you could be becoming a better speaker or becoming a world-class speaker. You should work on 2 portions. One is gesture and another is vocal variety. So that's all from my side. Over to you, G.
Thank you. And now we'll go to the last evaluator who will evaluate Brahm's speech. Please welcome Vinod.
Thank you very much, G. Linda. DTM Brahm, as Dinesh also mentioned, we could literally see you today jumping out of your box and comfort level, and we saw a different Brahm. And I really appreciate you for that, for taking all the feedbacks. And each and everyone in this room who have seen you speaking before will completely agree with that. So even if there was no evaluation, it was okay, because you have done an amazing job. So as a 15-minute speech, if you are a keynote speaker and if you want to get paid, I will first just look at that from that particular point. So these are the 3 things that any speaker would look into. What was your premise? What was the problem that you were solving? And what is the payoff? The premise is basically from day one, what you are telling, connect with people, learn to connect with people. The problem that you raised or brought in the story over here was, if you don't do, it would be, you would be discombobulated like Louis. Basically, that is what you wanted to share the message. And the payoff was, you will have a better life. Now, this is just a gist of what the speech was of the entire 15 minutes. So these were the 3 key things. Now, let's get into the purpose of the story. Your opening was really captivating, and it was an amazing suspense created. Like the birthday, we didn't knew Louis came in later. So all the 5 means the basic elements of introducing a story, the 5 W's, who, what, where, why, how, everything was there. Who? Louis. What? Birthday party. Where? McDonald's. So you followed that very, like what you say, in like a textbook style, writing style. You had all this in the introduction scene, and you led into the story of Louis. Now, the purpose of any story is to elicit emotion or to pump our intuition so that we are transported to your storyland. So was Brahm able to take us to his storyland? Where did I feel I was there with Brahm? When you actually said the kids were running and they were like what you say, playing with the balloon, that vivid description, the verbiage that you used created movies in my mind. I could actually see kids playing over there. So that was very well done, but it was done in the beginning. The second was one of the best things that I saw about you, the genuine compassion in you. A speaker should be authentic, and when you wanted to help or when you were, I could feel the real care inside you. It came from your heart. So you are speaking from the heart, and it was very clearly visible on the screen. And good neighbor, all those things, in Bible it is also written, love thy neighbor. I don't agree with that. I believe, because loving your neighbor's wife is not a good idea, right? So having compassion is a good thing. So compassion was there, amazing thing. So the best room in the world is room for improvement. So if I would like to say, in a 15 minutes, you could have used more than one story of Louis, because the extract that from Louis, what you wanted could have been in 3 or 4 minutes. You had a story from Bible, Dr. Amin, and your kids also. So you could have, like what you say, distributed a little bit time-wise in that, use more vivid imagery, just like you created in the beginning. And when you said, like what you say, he was angry and all these things. You could have involved the audience. Have you ever met someone who is angry? Because you did not include or ask questions which would allow us to be part of your story. So I feel like I am very, very happy. Even if there was no evaluation, I would have been happy. But I would like to see more and more speeches without any presentation. Thank you very much. Over to you, G. Linda.
Thank you for that great evaluation. Thank you so much. Thank you all the evaluators for the great feedback to our members. And now we will move on to the reports. I will begin by the timer. Mariana, could you please give us your timing report?
Thank you very much, Madam G. So I already reported on the speakers. Table topics, Peter spoke 1 minute, 29 seconds. Khalid, 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Ram, 1 minute and 9 seconds. The evaluators, and here I do have to say that being a good Toastmaster also means being able to keep time. Everybody went over, some more than others. So Dinesh spoke 3 minutes, 25 seconds. Rinal, 4 minutes, 28 seconds. And Vinod, 3 minutes, 42 seconds. And that is my report.
Thank you, Mariana. And next, I will call on Nikita to give us her grammarian report.
I hope my report won't be too long. I'm not sure how much time I have, I didn't check. But I hope to be veracious in my report today and to provide feedback that would help our speakers and everyone who has participated today to improve the next time they join a meeting or that they have a speech. I would like to say that Veracious was used 5 times, which is in my mind the goal that I had. However, it was only used by 3 people, and that does not include me. So we could try harder. I came across words that I liked, that stood out to me. I don't think I'm a person that uses language very well. That's my judgment for myself. And being a grammarian has been a great opportunity to really open my ears to language, the use of language. I really enjoyed this role. So words that stood out to me and that I think would be used for as words of the day are abashed. But Brahm said abashed. I'm a little bit abashed, if I heard that right, that I was left-handed. And I love the word discombobulated. Glee. Brahm said you could see the glee on Lewis's face. Auspicious. There were more words that I enjoyed, but I will stick to those ones. Then phrases that stood out to me were, Brahm said my relationships clicked well. And although I don't know if that's correct English, but it creates an image, right? It creates a sound in our minds, and therefore I really enjoyed the use of the word clicked well. It's like an on-off switch. Then late, better than never. Great takeaway for all of us by Peggy Onlock. Francoise said, meeting minds that are optimistic. Acting is healing, therapeutic. I really loved her perspective from acting. And then the favorite one, the takeaway, level up. Yes. Level up, level up. Fabiola, mindsets are leaders' mental lenses. I love the visual. Let's get down to the filler words. I would like to start with Brahm. Brahm, I've noticed that your filler words, I even lost count because I started noting them later, because I noted later that you're continuously using these words, was and so, and you know. So you use and so, or just and continuously to connect your phrases. You're constantly connecting send phrases, ideas with the word and. So perhaps just take note of that. And you know. Now, when someone speaks and they say, you know, I'm often thinking, no, I don't know. and that's just for the fun of it, because you know, no, you don't know. So, you know, you've used that probably 2, 4, 6. I noted 6 times, but it was more. You also used 4 times and so, but those are okay. Just one thing that you said, you cannot turn back time and go backwards. And then you repeat it. You cannot rewind time and go back. I don't think that's correct English, I'm not sure, but it's like repeating the words 4 times. So the phrase could have been different to be more impactful. And if you wanted to repeat it, perhaps you repeat it differently. To be veracious, to be a grammarian requires a lot of notes. So I have a lot of paper here, and I don't think I would enjoy doing this role amongst people. Then Peggy, I love that you changed my mother to the word mom. The moment you did that, it made it personal for all of us. The first time you said it, you said my mother, and then you continued and you said mom. Providing direction that your protege has requested. Also love the phrasing of that. Francoise, your arms were the most. I counted 7. There was some wrong use of the language. However, I didn't take much note of that just because I think the level of English is different. But this is my report, my Veracious report. Thank you for allowing me to learn with you. And back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Nikita. Thank you, Mariana, for those great reports. Shows you were listening and paying attention and keeping time. At this time, I will give a summary of what I thought of the meeting. If I was to define today's meeting, I would say amazing. And why would I say amazing? We had great speeches, great lessons. Fergus talked about where to write your name. Peggy talked about mentoring. Brahm gave us lessons of how to be a good neighbor. And Francoise, if you're having an interview soon, she gave us some tips of what to do when you're in an interview. Very diverse. I think everybody got something from it. I'll also say, Bud, thank you for running a smooth meeting from beginning to end. And I loved the table topics questions. As much as they were challenging, I thought they were very good questions to help us think off our feet. Great and effective evaluations from our evaluators today. They gave us positive feedback and they also gave us something to work on. So in all, I'd say it's a great meeting. I looked at the chart and to see if it was used effectively, which it was done today. I saw the word of the day. There wasn't gender. I also saw people communicating with the guest and they also giving feedback. I would have loved to see more feedback for the speakers or for the overall meeting. The only thing I would suggest for us when we're in a meeting or after giving a speech or talking, remember to mute yourself. I could hear noises on the background for some people who forgot to go back and mute themselves. Let's get into a habit of muting ourselves when you're not speaking, just so that at least we don't disrupt the speaker or what's going on. Other than that, I think it was a great meeting, and that concludes my general evaluation. I return control back to the Toastmasters of the day. Bud.
Oh, shoot. Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. One time I forgot to unmute myself. I want to add something to what you said, and that is I feel that each and every role in Toastmasters improves some element of our leadership skills. And I thought Nikita made a great example of that by saying that what she learned from being the grammarian and not being sure that she would want to be doing it with other in the presence of other people. It is easier to do it, to handle all the various pieces you've got to handle when you're just on a camera. Now, I would like to give our guests a moment or some time to comment, to give us some insights as to how our meeting shows to guests. And I'm going to actually start off by letting you volunteer to have a comment.
I think you can hear me. Am I audible?
We can, Chandra. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, really exciting meeting. Actually, I just got an email. I just click it and join your meeting halfway through. It's wonderful. Actually, I just get many experiences listening to your speeches, and would like to join you in the future, not very soon, but hope to join your club. So it was a wonderful meeting. And actually, I couldn't introduce myself. I'm Chandra Herath from Sri Lanka, from Candy Toastmasters Club. Right now, I'm acting as an area director for area K2. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chandra, for your comments. Who else have we got here? Aswathi, are you a visitor? Yeah, you're a visitor, aren't you?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is Toastmaster Ashwathi Rajan from District 120. And I'm so happy that I could make it today. Thank you so much, Mariana, for sharing the link. And I'm regretting that I joined a little late. I missed some good speeches, I'm sure. I have missed a lot today, but I'm happy that at least one speech I could hear, and that was wonderful by DTM Brahm, and also many table topic speeches today, so insightful. And I have literally got some wonderful messages from this table topic session and the speech which I heard today, and great evaluations too. So I'm so happy that I was able to attend the meeting. Thank you so much, and I hope to attend the future meetings also. Thank you.
Thank you, Aswathi. Who else have we got? Well, Peter, you're still a guest, aren't you? Peter,
yes, I am. I haven't cleared the visa to go to Canada yet. I'm Peter Lutzman. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan in the USA. And I have just 3 comments about the meeting today. It was fantastic in terms of friendliness. It was fantastic in terms of professionalism. And it was fantastic in terms of the variety of speeches that we have. We just didn't have the same old talking head speeches. So my praise is to this club. Thank you very much for letting me attend.
Thank you, Peter. And by the way, you don't have to come to Canada to join our club. People have joined from all over the world. All you need to do is let us know you want to join, and we'll make the arrangements. Who else have we got here?
Mr. Toastmaster of the day, if I can call on Jafet Musau here, who is the president of Kwanzaa. Habari yako?
Mzuri sana Memone, DTM.
Karibu.
Thank you very much. My compatriot over there, originally from Kenya. I'm happy to be here today to enjoy this high quality club meeting. I was here right from the start, and I must say I enjoyed every segment of this meeting. I think this is what I've been looking for. I'm a distinguished Toastmaster myself, and it reaches a level where you're looking for something more. And I'm glad to see advanced Toastmasters here. You can expect me to pop in more times just to enjoy this quality of the meeting. Congratulations for what you're doing here. It's absolutely commendable. Thank you.
Asante sana.
Thank you, Shafaf. Brahm, perhaps you can point out anybody else that I've missed who's
Yeah, they have their hands up, Bud, so you could call them because a couple of people have their hands up there. Yeah, go ahead.
And I regret that I'm totally lost on how to pronounce Udhavyakumar. Udhavyakumar? Am I saying that badly?
Udaya Kumar, yeah. Thank you. This is my second time I'm participating of this meeting. And 3 things I learned today. That you have mail communications every week to join this meeting, which was awesome. And I like to learn and implement in our club. I'm playing SAA in our club. And second thing, the timer uses the virtual ant to showcase she's timer. That was amazing. And third thing is grammarian. She come up with the background with the word of the day and its meaning adjective. It was awesome, fantastic idea. Every time I join this club, I learn something, I take something from this club. I'm really happy to be part of this club. Thank you.
Thank you, Udhavyakumar. Anyone else? Oh, yes. No, wait a second. I don't see any other hands up.
He's right next to you on the screen.
Brahm, are you still a guest?
I am still struggling along, Bud. I'm still here, Mr. HWBB. I'm still here. There are several reasons why someone would come to a Toastmasters meeting. And one thing that comes to mind is the timeliness, starts and ends on time. The other thing is how to give a very, very polished speech, evaluations. And then not only for the guests, but those that are here as well, they need to be nourished. They need to be given food all the time because they're hungry for more knowledge. And that it is in here. It is here in this club. And I see continuity of that growth. And that growth is important for all of us, not only the members, the guests, but in seeing this club go and catapult to a higher level. Bud, back to you.
Thank you, Ram. Ram is so ever.
Yeah, we can call on Henry Miller if you wish. 4 times DTM
Henry.
and a past district governor, Henry Miller.
Yes, so thank you. I'm observing and enjoying the wonderful wonderful meeting. A lot of great takeaways, and I look forward to joining in again. But right now, I cannot take on another club. I'm so busy in 2 districts. But I enjoyed this meeting very much. Thank you for the invitation. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Henry. And Henry, I say this to you and to all our guests, you are welcome to come and visit us as often as you like.
And I must, if I may add, I have a Pathways blog that I started off as a Pathways project, and it has mushroomed into much more. It's available at henryomiller.com. Henry, and I would be happy if you can join in and support the effort. Thank you.
If you like, Henry, just put that link in the chat to broadcast to everyone.
I will.
Have I missed anyone? Oh, Josie?
Audrey Reed. Audrey. Hi. Audrey, are you there?
Hello, yes, good morning. I apologize for not being able to open my video, but I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make it this morning, but I'm so glad that I did, because all of the presentations this morning I found were very enlightening, and I was able to get takeaways from each presentation that was done this morning, the prepared speeches as well as the table topics And particularly what I liked about the table topics is the various angles that each presenter was able to deal with the aspect of leadership that the table topic speaker was presenting to the individual. And I felt that my morning has been really well spent. Thank you.
And last but not
Thank
least
you,
is
Audrey.
Josie Kersey. Hi, Josie. All the way from Orlando, by the way.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Yes, I'm here in Orlando, and it was a pleasure to be here today. I learned so much. I had 2 other meetings to go to, but I decided to be here, and I made the right decision. Thank you for having me. I like the organization, the meeting, and the speeches, and Fabiola, the questions. Everything was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that is it, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Brahm. I feel bad that after Ram said that our meetings start on time and end on time, and we're 7 minutes over time. But I just want to throw in one last comment. I mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting, that people, leaders who are in their right mind are literally doing things to improve their ability to have attention, to pay attention to detail, to memory, to reasoning, to problem solving. And so I encourage you, fellow Toastmasters, as you go out in the world this week, be in your right mind and develop those skills. Leaders are in their right minds. And with that, I'm going to call to a conclusion this 28th meeting of the Leadership Speak Toastmasters Club. We are in the habit of sticking around after the meeting and chatting a little